It's Snick. It's Snick. Hey, Snick.
Hey!
Nah, it's
He's
Snick.
back, boys!
What a time it is to be alive, ladies and gentlemen. After so many years, Sony and Konami finally dropped some massive news. Metal Gear Solid is back, baby. I'd never thought I'd actually be saying this, but I am absolutely excited for the return of Metal Gear. So in case you haven't noticed already, Konami announced a remake of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. The original Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater is considered as one of the greatest games ever made, and I can absolutely agree with that. I have been a Metal Gear fan for a very long time at this point. At the same time, I am absolutely ashamed and completely disappointed to see how Konami has treated the franchise post Metal Gear Solid 5. Metal Gear Solid Survive was a complete insult to the series, and considering it didn't sell well, it's no wonder why Konami hasn't done something for a very long time at this point. Metal Gear is no stranger to this channel. In fact, one of the very first videos that I ever posted on this channel was a video about Metal Gear Solid Survive. I wish it was on a much better game, but you know, you gotta start somewhere. After that game had released, people just thought Metal Gear was dead. The franchise is completely done for. However, for a while now, there have been rumours going around that Konami is planning, or at least did plan, on recreating one of the Metal Gear games. We didn't know which one it was at first. Many had theorized that it was the first Metal Gear Solid game. There was no real concrete evidence to suggest what exactly it is they were working on. But as the years went on, more news pointed towards that they were making a remake of Metal Gear Solid 3, and thus, here we are. Now, remaking a game as beloved as Metal Gear Solid 3 is a very difficult thing to do, and considering it's coming from Konami, they could easily fuck this up and end up disappointing a bunch of the fan base. But considering the game has just been announced, there is very little information about this remake. The only information that we have managed to gather is a couple of screenshots, and to be fair, these screenshots look very nice. The graphics are absolutely beautiful, the lighting is very nice. However, this doesn't seem to be on the Fox engine. That begs a lot of questions, because the Fox engine was kind of a big deal for Metal Gear. We'll have to wait and see how exactly it all plays out, and considering that the Fox engine wasn't exactly the best or easiest engine to work with, it did provide some very beautiful graphics at the time of its introduction. We'll just have to wait and see exactly what engine the remake is going to be on. So there isn't really much to talk about in terms of the remake. However, there is a bunch of stuff to talk about, that being the Master Collection. The Master Collection is going to contain Metal Gear Solid 1, Metal Gear Solid 2, and the original Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater for all current platforms. However, there is something that I noticed. There's Volume 1 in the title. I 100% am willing to bet that Metal Gear Solid 4, Peace Walker, and possibly even Portable Ops is going to be included in the second collection. But we're going to have to wait and see. However, let's just focus on the Volume 1 collection. This is a massive deal because the original Metal Gear Solid 1 was never ported to any other system. The only other system that it really was sort of put on was for the PC from the guys at COG. So it's great to see that it is finally coming to all current platforms. But not only that, it is also really nice to hear the fact that despite the existence of the remake, Konami is going to allow players to have a chance of having a go at the original Snake Eater, which is just something that any studio should be doing. If there's one thing that I wish more studios did, is to allow players to play the original version of a game that is getting remade. I feel like having two versions existing at the same time is always a good thing for players. It's always a healthy thing too. So to see Konami, of all bloody companies, actually go ahead and allow people to play 2 different versions of Snake Eater is just really fucking nice, and I actually give massive applause to Konami for doing that. Yeah, just the fact that this collection is even happening, and the idea of Metal Gear Solid 4, a game that has been locked to the PS3 since it first released, is just really nice, and I can't wait. Ultimately, if I was to talk about Konami as a company right now, I genuinely do want to see a Konami renaissance. I'm all for a redemption arc. Now my next topic is, despite not being Konami related, is something that I am absolutely ecstatic for. That being Alan Wake 2. I have had a pretty good history with Remedy. My first ever game from them was indeed the first Alan Wake game, which was phenomenal. It's one of my favourite games of all time. The location, the story, and the gameplay was pretty good for the most part. It had a very nice concept, so to see that concept come back is always a nice thing, and it's nice to see the characters again. However, it is interesting that they are going to be having a 2 characters perspective throughout the course of the game, so you'll be switching between different characters. However, Remedy has said that you can play any of the characters in any order that you want, so there is no real proper way of actually playing it. It's kind of similar to how Resident Evil 2 went about with the whole 2 playable characters thing, so I'm really interested to see how that plays out. But I only hope that Alan Wake 2 is a good success for Remedy, because Alan Wake is a character and a series that Remedy has always wanted to continue for almost 13 years at this point. There was a prototype for a sequel that was released on the internet years ago. However, considering the first game wasn't a grand financial success when it came out, mainly because it was released at the same time as Red Dead Redemption 1, Alan Wake was never really given a proper chance. However, Alan Wake has turned into a cult classic, and with the release of Alan Wake Remastered doing pretty good in terms of sales, it's clearly evident that enough money was garnered to warrant a sequel. But it has been a very long time, and I even remember the one video that Sam Lake did basically telling everyone that Alan Wake 2 was not a possibility. Overall, I don't really have any concerns with Alan Wake 2. I do like the fact that it is going for a more survival horror aspect instead of a psychological thriller, which was what the original Alan Wake was, even though that game had some survival horror elements integrated into it. And I'd love to see what Remedy can do with horror, and that entire idea just excites me to no end. So overall, I think for the next couple of years, we are in for some good shit, folks. It is so nice to see Metal Gear come back, and it's absolutely phenomenal to see Alan Wake come back, because for a while, I thought these 2 franchises were done for good. There was no way for them to return, especially within our current modern era of gaming, where there's live services and stuff like that nature just absolutely ruining existing franchises. So the fact that Metal Gear and Alan Wake is back is just, yeah, it's great. And yeah, let me tell you, me and Mr. No Life, we kind of lost our minds a little bit about Alan Wake returning and Metal Gear returning. So yeah. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Take care, folks.